Mantour Ministries presents the Mantour Guy podcast. We may talk about football. We could mention bacon. We might reference Rocky movies. We'll probably discuss the Mantour conferences, but we'll definitely talk about how to grow in our walk with God. Here's your host, the Mantour Guy, Jamie Holden.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Mantour Guy podcast. Jamie Holden here, and I'm glad to be back with you again this week. Well, in this week's podcast, I want to have an honest discussion about how we are all doing during this time of COVID-19. As men, we need to come to a place where we can be honest about our feelings, emotions, and the current state of our minds. I know personally, whenever someone asks me how I'm doing, I'm prone to just say, I'm doing good. I don't want to let people know if things are bugging me or if I'm not okay. I do it with Odessa because I know she is dealing with things of her own. I don't want to add to her struggle. I do it with friends because I don't want to risk them blowing me off or making them uncomfortable. I do it with people in fear of the response if they know I don't have everything put together. And I even tell myself I'm okay, so that I keep pushing myself forward and focusing on taking care of those around me. But during this time of quarantine, I wasn't okay. I really struggled. And I know I'm not alone. Guys, in my younger days, I struggled big time with depression. Thankfully, through counseling, tons and tons of prayer, and fighting on my part, God gave me victory over this depression. But when this quarantine went on and on, I felt myself battling it over and over again. You see, we were dead in the middle of our Mantour conferences when the outbreak started, which meant I was going 150 miles per hour and riding the adrenaline of the amazing ministry that God has called me to do. Then suddenly someone slammed on the brakes and we went from going nonstop, traveling all over the place, and constantly being around friends and ministry partners to being locked in my home, cut off from everyone and everything. And guys, I live in the country. All the stores, our church, our doctors, everything is 45 to 60 minutes away. So we spend a lot of time in our car and on the road. And suddenly, my car is just sitting there idle in the driveway for weeks at a time. Saved a lot of money on gas, but we were home all the time. I thrive on people. I like people. And all of a sudden, I can't be around anyone except my immediate family, some of who I have a very strained relationship with. May is usually a hard month for me when Mantour's end and I have less interaction with people, but guys, this year it was brutal. And I had to cancel a few conferences, but I still wanted to reach men. So I focused my attention on creating the 14-day marathon, as well as putting together that long online man tour we did that one Saturday. And as I worked on these videos, I was spending 8 to 10 hours a day editing video kind of hunched over on my laptop. And I didn't realize I was sitting at a bad position, and I ended up pinching some nerves in my back. So all of a sudden, not only my quarantine, but I had this excruciating pain, and I was injured and I couldn't really do very much. Working out has become my mental stress relief, and I got myself built back up to working out where I maxed out. I got to the optimal workout time that I wanted to be able to do every day. It was going well. I was adding weight and to the bars. I wasn't adding weight to myself. I was adding weight to the bars. Let's make that clear there, guys. I just built everything up, and now this injury killed all my momentum, and I'd had to start all over again. And I was exhausted from the months on the road doing the man tours. I was frustrated physically, and I was stressed beyond what I've ever been before. And as many of you have gone through, I daily worried about finances. We canceled 3 man tours, losing thousands of dollars that our ministry relies on throughout the year to keep running. And I had no idea if we would continue receiving support from the churches that support our ministry. They all were forced to close, and I had no idea if they were still going to give to the ministry. It was a daily stress as I worried how we would make it financially. I was also struggling, like I said, big time not being around people. I love people, I thrive around people, and all of a sudden, we were alone. And during this time, Odessa really began struggling with a non-COVID related physical issue. It wasn't the knot virus, it was something completely different, but she really had a struggle. And this added even more to the stress. And I was constantly around another person who I have a very strained relationship with, and he was around all the time. And one big flaw I have in my personality is I look forward to things a lot. I look forward to events or trips or exciting things, and I use it as a fuel to get through doing things I don't enjoy. And all of a sudden, all those things out there that I was looking forward to were gone. The small getaway we had scheduled with some close friends, canceled. Any kind of adventure or vacation or exciting thing, canceled. I really struggled having nothing ahead on the horizon. And I was a boiling pot of stress, worry, and anxiety, and I could feel myself sinking. But I refused to admit or deal with it. And Odessa, she knew something was wrong, and she was constantly interrogating me. What's wrong? What's going on? But I would just say to her, I'm fine. I'm just tired. But eventually I got to a place where I just couldn't take it anymore, and I had to admit I'm not okay. I had to realize the effects all this was having on me, and I had to start making some changes to my life to help myself. Why am I telling you all this? Why am I being so open and sharing this not so great side of myself? Because I know that I'm not the only one who has struggled through this time. As things are slowly reopening, I think a lot of us are still struggling with the effects of the quarantine on our lives. You can see domestic violence, suicide, drug and alcohol abuse. They're all on the rise statistically. People are struggling. I recently asked a question about this on Facebook.
Here's this week's Facebook feedback.
I asked, the most difficult part of quarantine for me has been, and I told them to fill in the blank. Here's some of the replies people gave me. Not working, being told you aren't important to anyone. When they tell you you're not essential, it's like saying you're not important. Not being able to worship at church, another person said. One said not being able to socialize with people. One said not being allowed to visit and pray for the sick and those in the hospital. Being treated as if we're doing something evil to want to be with someone who is dying and they're supposed to just die alone. Another one said knowing people who have been critically ill and not being able to help with them. Families in our church who have had a parent or sibling die and not being there to hug them. Another person said being in a nursing home has been hard for me. I've been scared and I've been unable to see my wife. Another said it was hard watching her son suffer from the virus and not being able to do anything to help him, feeling a sense of fear I have never experienced. And these are just some of the many responses that I received that demonstrate how physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually taxing this whole pandemic has been. You don't have to contract the virus to have suffered from it. So what do we do when we are suffering like this? Well, I can tell you what, guys, I know what steps I took to get help, and hopefully they will help you too. And I'm going to share them with you right after this break.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Like what you're hearing? Head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks.
Hey guys, Jamie Holden here, the Mantour Guy. And so often men tell me that they can't afford to use Covenant Eyes. And my immediate response back is, dude, you can't afford not to use Covenant Eyes. For 53 cents a day, you can protect every computer, every laptop, every tablet, and cell phone that you and your family own from the trap of internet pornography. I tell them for 53 cents a day or $16 a month, you can make sure your little girls never stumble onto pornography as she uses Snapchat or does any internet searches while doing her homework. For 53 cents a day, you can make sure your son never falls into the trap of pornography or even sees it accidentally while online. I say for 53 cents a day, you can protect your wife from getting trapped in the trap of internet porn and protect your marriage. And I tell them for 53 cents a day, you can help break the cycle of internet pornography that's been holding in your life. Guys, you and your family, and most importantly, your walk with God, cannot afford for you not to use Covenant Eyes. So, head to MantourMinistries.com and hit the Covenant Eyes button in the upper right-hand corner to get 1 month of free service. Try it out. I know you're going to love it. You're never going to regret it. Guys, do it today. You can't afford not to have Covenant Eyes be a part of your life.
Yep. You're listening to the Mantour Guy podcast.
We're all men under construction. Under Construction is a spiritual how-to book where men come together to share their experiences and the wisdom they've gained on their own journey to biblical manhood and building a legacy of godliness. Written by 30 different men and pastors and men's leaders, Under Construction discusses 6 key areas all men can grow spiritually. Order your copy today at MantourMinistries.com. God's not finished with you yet. We're all under construction.
Order your copy today at MantourMinistries.com. Don't forget to visit iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks.
Hey guys, the Mantour Guy, Jamie Holden here. I'd love to come share at your church, at your men's ministry, at your next men's event, or men's breakfast. I have a challenging word for God's men to help them become the men that God has called them to be. If you'd like to have me come share with your group, visit mantourministries.com to contact me about coming to challenge and encourage your church's men to grow in their walk with God.
The Mantour Guy Podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.
Hey guys, Jamie Holden here, and I want to tell you that God is moving in our prison systems. And Mantour Ministries, well, we're on the front lines, and you can help. We are giving inmates our books and resources, and guys, the testimonies we're receiving back have been amazing. You know, one person reported that they had 30 men gathering, and 25 of them were delivered and set free from anger. Another shows how the men are weekly working together through our books and how men are growing spiritually. They're starting to have devotions and have prayer time and Bible reading in their individual lives, and they're growing. Guys, I could go on and on. Chains of bondage are being broken among our inmates. You can help us reach even more hurting men inside our prison systems when you become a monthly financial partner with Mantour Ministries. You can become a partner with us by going to mantourministries.com/partner and clicking on the Give Online button. Guys, together we can continue reaching men in our correctional institutions with the life-changing truth of the gospel.
Welcome back to the Mantour Guy Podcast.
Welcome back, guys, as we discussed today how to handle our struggles during the time of quarantine. And we went to the commercial with a promise to share what steps I took to help myself, so let's jump back into it here. Number 1, I admitted I wasn't okay. And this sounds like a stupid step, right? But until you admit you have a problem, you can't address it. And it is important to say, I'm not okay. I need to face what is wrong. I need to stop covering it up, and I need to deal with what is. Until I made this decision, I was miserable. But once I finally admitted to myself and others that I was struggling, I could start overcoming and gaining victory. Number 2, I showered and dressed every day. Again, another simple thing. However, I made a goal that for each day of quarantine, I would get up, clean up, and get dressed. Many people didn't do this, and I was stunned by the number of people who stopped showering daily or stayed in pajamas all day. I couldn't let myself do this because it played into a past tendency of depression in my life. I made life as normal as I could, and it started with starting every day with my usual routine. Number 3, I took a break from social media. Now, I know this seems like an odd step to take when you're struggling with not being around people, but I had to do it. I got to a place where I just couldn't take all of the fighting and the snapping going on as people went back and forth about whether to open or to close, whether to wear a mask or not wear a mask, whether to leave the house or stay home. I just couldn't take the drama. I couldn't stand the nastiness, so I just stayed away. I scheduled the ministry posts I had to do, and I avoided the rest of social media. And this step really helped me a lot. I can't describe how much this online fighting was affecting me. Being away from it helped me calm my spirit and find peace inside. Number 4, I gave myself permission to go slower. Having just come off of the nonstop pace of Mantours, I found myself struggling with the slower pace of life. Everything was closed, there was nowhere to go, I had no place to be, and I found myself finding reasons to push hard to create stress. And to break the cycle, I had to give myself permission to just slow down. If I slept in a half hour late, so be it. If I watched a movie at night instead of going somewhere, such was life. I had to literally tell myself it was okay that life was a little slower, that this summer was going to be a little slower, and it was going to be less exciting, and allow myself to be okay with it. Number 5, I had to expand my horizons. I decided one way to help me through this slower time was to challenge myself to learn how to do something new or try something different. I educated myself. There's been this one particular type of resource that we are constantly asked by men about producing for men to use. It's a ministry resource men are constantly asking us, are you ever going to do this? But number 1, I'd never have had the time to do it, and honestly, I didn't know how to do it. Now, all of a sudden, not having time wasn't as big of an issue, so I just had to conquer the how to do it hurdle. So I've been educating myself, learning how to do it, and working on developing and creating this new resource that so many men have asked us about. I hope to have it finished in the next month or 2, and I can't wait to tell you about it. But I think I'm going to keep that challenge to myself for now and let you be surprised. Number 5, I spent more time with God. And honestly, this was the most important and most helpful point. I had to set aside time for just me and God and talk with Him about what was bothering me. I had to lay out my fears and insecurities. I had to tell him my worries and stress. I had to voice my frustration and ask him to help me through. And I had to sit quietly in his presence and let him work in and through me. This step is so important. Our God does more than heal physically. He heals our emotions. He calms our fears. He soothes our pain. He is the one we need to turn to as we struggle through difficult times. If you are struggling as I was, get alone with God. He has what you need. He will help you if you allow him to.
The Mantour Guy's final thought.
One final thought I have for you about this whole quarantine thing is we need to cut people some slack. I was really struggling with people, their social media posts, their fighting, and all of that kind of stuff. But as I spent time with God, I started to see that I needed to cut these people a little slack. Why? Well, because just like me, they were struggling too. Some people really are terrified to go back to normal. Others are drowning in financial struggles and are just trying to get back to work to support their families. In the middle of all the battle lines being drawn, there's hurting people. And as I often say, hurting people hurt people. And that's exactly what was going on. People are reacting from their pain and it is hurting others around them. We can diffuse a lot of the strife if we realize we need to cut people slack. Instead of going on the attack against nervous Nancy, who is terrified to leave the house, realize her fear is real and pray for her. Instead of getting angry at Fightin' Fred, who's doing all he can to reopen so he can buy food for his kids, pray for him and his finances. We would be so much more effective and such a better witness for Christ if we fell to our knees in prayer instead of rising to our feet in social media battles. Cut others slack. Show them mercy. Focus more on God and less on others. And tell God what you need him to do inside of you as you approach the reopening. Guys, I hope my vulnerability today about my struggles helps you in some way. I want you to see you're not alone. And I wanted to give some tips to help you through this time. Whether you're dying to reopen or you're scared to death of it, it is the next step, and we need to be prepared for it. Well, guys, we're out of time this week. Thank you so much for joining us once again. I appreciate you giving up your time to listen. I'd love to have you go to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and Google Play. Subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Also, make sure to head to our website, mantourministries.com, and check out our books and resources. Our monthly newsletter is available there. And you can read the first chapter of Whatever It Takes there for free. The brand new book we have this year for our Mantour conferences, Whatever It Takes. You can read the first chapter there for free. And we have so much more available. So guys, visit the website. But once again, thanks for joining us. Stay safe out there, guys. And we'll see you next week on the Mantour Guy podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Mantour Guy podcast. Be sure to visit mantourministries.com to learn more about our books, men's ministry resources, and our Mantour conferences.
Hey guys, Jamie Holden here. Did you know that only 10% of churches have a healthy, thriving men's ministry? That's only 1 out of 10 churches. Well, my mission is to see this number become 100%. Join me in my work with HEUS Missions to help develop men's ministry in the local church. Become a monthly financial investor in the work God called me to do by going to mantourministries.com/partner and clicking on the Give Online button. Together, we can see God continue to move among men. One more thing before I wrap up this week, guys. You need to head to covenanteyes.com and sign up today to protect you and your loved ones from the many traps awaiting you on the internet. I am a Covenant Eyes user. I just signed my 69-year-old father up and put Covenant Eyes on his phone and his laptop. I believe in it. It's an amazing tool. It helps you stay pure online. Guys, I encourage you to try it today. If you use the code MANTOR, you get 30 free days. That's 30 free days. What do you have to lose? So head to covenanteyes.com, try it today. Like I said, what do you have to lose, guys?
The Mantour Guy podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.